Hello, everyone. Welcome to Robot Week. My name is Connell, and today we are coming to you from Victoria, BC. We want to give a big thank you to the Discovery Foundation, GLOWS, and the Kootenai Association for Science and Technology for today. We have a large online audience. There's lots of you watching at home. Hello to all of you. One of the great things about a Live It production is that you get to ask your questions to us live using the hashtag LiveItIndustry. Have your parents or guardians go onto Twitter and use the hashtag LiveItIndustry to ask your questions. We have an amazing team of online experts who will be answering your questions throughout today. And don't forget to include your name and where you're from. Today, we're going to be talking all about robots, but I'm not going to be doing this video on my own. We have Brad here from Smart One Technologies. Hello, Brad. How are you?
I'm great. Hi, everyone. My name is Brad. I'm from Smart One, and I live in Nelson, BC, and I build touchscreen vending machines, which are like giant robots.
So we'll just have a quick reminder to ask your questions to us using the hashtag LiveItIndustry, and our online experts will be answering them on Twitter. Now, Brad, before we get started about what Smart One does, could you tell us a little bit about your job and why you chose this kind of work?
I started as a software programmer many years ago, and I really liked it. And once I learned to connect hardware to software, it really made sense that this was something I could learn in school.
And so, talking of school, what did you have to study in order to get to where you are now, where you're working for a robotics company?
So I started with the internet, where I learned HTML and programming languages. And then about 10 years ago, I started with the tech clubs that I learned how to do Arduino programming, which is what a lot of robots are built with today.
So, if someone's in school right now and they are interested in robots and robotics and they want to work in that area, do you have any advice for what maybe they could be doing right now?
The best place to start is to really find, the science side that you like, if you like physics or if you like electronics and technology. If you've got an interest with it, picking up a kit that you can just learn with is the best way to do it.
So, what kind of robotics do you make at Smart One?
So we take vending machines and we make them smarter. So there's lots of motors and things that move inside to push the product out, like your bag of chips or your chocolate bar. And we're using those types of technologies to think about how that vending machine might be transformed in the future, maybe driving around.
Really? Well, so what kind of technology does it take, to do this kind of stuff, work to vending machines?
Well, just like you program your Arduino robot with, we're writing the same kind of code that is using sensors so that we can sense things like obstacles or people standing in front of it, being able to pick up language. So if you want to talk to it and you want it to respond, those are all things that technology can use.
So you mentioned it a little bit about the future. Other than maybe you said about the fact that they could drive around and that maybe you could talk to them as well. Is there anything sort of really cool that you'd like to build into robotics or into one of these vending machines that you make?
I would really like to make that robot vending machine that drives around and actually spits out other robots that the students can actually build or maybe are already built. So they're coming out of the machine ready to rock and roll.
So instead of bags of chips or chocolate, it would be a vending machine with robots inside it.
I'd like to build an army of robots that gets dispensed by vending machines.
That sounds so cool. Do you think that that's something that you could do?
Absolutely. The vending machines exist, the robots exist. Now we just have to build the piece in between.
That's so exciting. So just to recap then, if you love robotics, many of the jobs in the future will include them. Brad taught himself to program robots, and so can you. And find an outlet that lets you do this with your friends, like a tech club in your community. So you've been sending your questions to us using the hashtag LiveItIndustry. And we got this question in for you, Brad. It is, how long does it take to build a robot?
Building a robot for the first time, usually a kit takes about 1 hour. Programming it is one of those things that takes over and over and over, and that's what your skills will build over time.
And is it something that you can do much faster the more you practice doing it?
Absolutely. I can build that robotic kit in about 5 minutes now,
Wow, that's not long at all.
which is why I'm going to build that vending machine that spits out robots.
That's so cool. I'm very excited for that. So we're going to move on now to part two. But Brad, thank you so, so much for being here. We really appreciate it. And we appreciate you answering our questions as well.
Awesome. Thanks for having me. I love building robots.
Hey, Justin, how are you?
Yeah, good, thanks. How are you?
Not too bad. Well, thank you so much for joining us. I heard that you transformed a regular car into a self-driving car in just 3 days. Is that true?
Yeah, that's true.
That's crazy. How did you do it? What skills did you need in order to do that?
I guess like skills wise, there's a bit of mechanical, electronics, some knowledge of electronics, some programming knowledge as well. Over 3 days, just like any hard problem, when you break it down into its smaller parts, it's actually pretty easy. When you think about a self-driving car, you start off from right up the top. What does it need to do? Well, at the start of it, it needs to just move, right? It needs to go forwards and backwards, and it needs to steer. So you can start there, and then you can start, okay, well, let's make it drive itself. Well, not drive itself, but you should be able to drive it using, say, a remote control. What we used was actually an Xbox controller. So, because everybody knows how to use an Xbox controller, and, I mean, it's not Forza, but it's a real car. So from there, and then once you get that going, and then you can move on to the next part, which is, getting a computer to actually control it, not just a human controlling the Xbox controller. And once that's done, then you go into the programming side and try and program and teach the computer how to drive itself. And the one we did was quite a simple one. So it's definitely not something that you would see on the roads. But it does move around and it avoids people, or tries to avoid people. It was not 100% accurate in that sense, but yeah.
And so did you do any practice or any plans before the 3 days, or did you have to do it all in the 3 days?
A lot of it was done in the 3 days. We did have a lot of people who have done it before, and they were helping us. So, and they already prepared a lot of, I guess, the tools that we would need. So there's no running back and forth to the hardware store, or, just waiting on parts and things like that. A lot of what we needed was already there.
And so you mentioned some of the things that you studied in order to be able to do it. Is it something that anyone could do? Like, could I transform my car in 3 days, or do you have to have a degree and have gone to school for it?
Yeah, sure. I mean, anybody could do it, really. And in terms of degrees, there's official degrees that you can do out there in any university. There's also I think now they've got this thing called a nano degree. So it's more of a 1-year degree, and you can do it all online as well to be a self-driving car engineer. But no, anybody can do it.
And so if I am in school right now, in elementary school or middle school, and I love cars and robotics and all that kind of stuff, what would you suggest I could do now that might help me to do what you do one day?
Just keep tinkering. Yeah, if there's I know a lot of schools now have a lot of programs with robotics, and definitely getting into that, and just start to try and see the connections and make things in small scale first, and then you can grow it into bigger scale. I guess to put it into context, I know a project that a lot of kids do as their first robotics project is a line following robot. That is actually a self-driving car in a way. A car on the highway literally just follows the lines along the highway, and a line following robot does the exact same thing.
I never really thought about it like that before, that essentially the small, maybe more simple robots that we might start building are just a smaller version of the self-driving cars, for example. I'd not really thought about it like that.
Yeah, exactly. And that's what self-driving car normally is. It's just made up of little tiny parts, and you can always work on those tiny parts. And you can use Lego to start with, and there's Arduinos and Raspberry Pis and all that. And actually, on the self-driving car we actually used Raspberry Pis and Arduinos. So it's the exact same things that you would use when you're tinkering and you're starting to learn about robotics.
So you've been sending in your questions to us on Twitter using the hashtag #LiveItIndustry. And we had one sent in to us, Justin, that I think you might be able to answer. How long before I could go for a ride in a self-driving car?
Today. Well, hopefully today. I don't know if any of the Tesla showrooms are open, but I mean, a Tesla is more or less self-driving, when you've got the autopilot mode. I know they don't advertise it as that because it is not up to the fully self-driving, but it does most of it. So yeah, like even today you can jump into one.
That's amazing. And you expect that there'll be more of these cars on the road in the future. We can expect that maybe they become quite normal at some point.
Oh yeah, for sure. I think it would be very interesting to see how it turns out, especially in big cities. People might not own cars anymore, and you might just be able to hop in any car and it'll drive you somewhere. I think it's very exciting. Yeah.
That sounds amazing. So just to recap then, Justin transformed a regular car into a self-driving car in 3 days. He studied mechatronics, and this helped to build the car. Self-driving cars exist today, and in the future, there will be more of them on the roads. Well, Justin, thank you so much for talking to us all about self-driving cars. I'm still blown away that you managed to build, one like you did in just 3 days. And thanks for answering our question as well. We really appreciate it.
No problems at all. Bye.
Hi, Dylan. Hi, Owen. How are you guys?
Good, thanks. How are you?
Not bad. I was wondering if you could tell us a little bit about yourself.
For sure. My name's Dylan. I grew up just outside of Nelson. I went to school at Mount Sentinel and Selkirk College. I took the Digital Arts and New Media program, and now I'm kind of here.
So I believe that behind you, you have got a robot arm. Is that true? It sounds really, really cool. And can you kind of tell us everything about it?
Yeah, for sure. We do have a robot arm. It's controlled by this device friend Owen here has. You can just press the play button on it, and it's going to run through a program that we've been running.
So why would someone need a robot arm?
It's able to do a lot of repetitive tasks and keep us out of harm's way while it's doing some cutting or grinding. It's also good for doing filming, dynamic motion, stuff like that.
And what can it do right now? Is there something that you can show us that it can do?
Yeah, Owen will just press play on the little device there, and we've been attached a video camera attachment and a gripper to the end of it there. And every time it comes up, it's going to look for a golf ball, and then it's going to recognize it and then hit the golf ball. This is kind of us just playing around and learning how to use these tools, but in industrial practices, this would be used for sorting and grabbing different materials, placing them, grabbing hazardous or toxic things that we people want to be kept out of harm's way.
And do you expect that there will be more of these in the future? Like, will a lot of different tasks be done using these kind of robot arms in the future? Is that the way we're going?
Yeah, I would definitely say so. You can already kind of see it in manufacturing and assembly lines, and it's just a lot of us are finding out what we can really do with it, and that's a lot of the fun too.
Yeah, I can imagine. And so if someone was wanting to do this, when at home they might be really interested in this kind of technology, is there anything that you think they could do right now that could, help them to maybe get to where you are or to study something that you did so that they can also, work with robot arms?
Yeah, probably. There's so much around. Just getting into liking to create things with your hands. Probably that'd be number one. Making things. A lot of it I got through in personally from 3D modeling and modeling something in 3D space and then having to try to recreate it with machines like these.
So to recap then, we have a robot is a machine that's designed to do things without the help of a person. If you love robotics, you can learn more about them at school or clubs. And robots will be an important part of our future. Thank you so much, Dylan and Owen. Thanks to all our experts that joined us today and to our online experts as well. Remember to keep your questions coming in. They'll be answering as many of them as they can today. So use that hashtag #LiveItIndustry. Thanks again to you for watching. And don't forget to join us on our next show. Bye.
Yeah.
Even the robot's waving. Bye.